Thanks to the support as a channel member, Jacob Depew. Well, folks, after the absolute disaster that was yesterday's transfer window, I have no idea what to expect from today's episode. We've got our first 2 games of the new season. We have almost no players. We're going to be trying to sign players as we go. I feel like we might be in for a rough start to life in the National League. Hello, welcome to part 25 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our first 2 games in the National League. We're at home against Ebbsfleet. We're away against Weymouth, but that's not even the story. The story is what happened yesterday. It's the fact that because of a board takeover, a relocation to Coventry, and the retirement of our chairman and a transfer embargo, we're going into this new season with almost no players. That's a big problem. We're favourites for relegation. We're no longer based in Leamington. I mean, it's going to be a disaster, I think. What we need to do first up is pick a youngster or 2 to go on this bench, because we've got a greyed out player on there at the moment. So let's bin off the goalkeeper we don't need. The greyed out player we absolutely don't need. And then I guess we can get a name in the game player on there. Ant Chipman can come up onto the bench, and everyone else is 1-star current ability, which is super. There you go. Matthew Bissett, has got a little bit more potential than the other players we've got down there. So a couple of our name in the game channel members down there. Theodros is back on the bench as well. We have no defenders at all on our bench because the only 4 defenders in the squad are going to be starting the match. Cullinan is going to have to play left back because we don't have a left back. Hold on, where's that left back we signed in the summer? Where is he? Why can't I find him? Is he all the way down in the under 18s? This feels like this needs fixing. He's called Davies. I know he's called Davies, and I can't find him anywhere. Does that mean he's been involved in another game today? He's going to be ineligible because he'll have played for the under-23s or something, isn't he? Where is he? Is he injured? What was his name? He's one of the only players we were able to sign. Rhys Davies is in the under-23s and he's not injured. Why can't I find you, Rhys? I'm putting you up into the first team squad. That's so small. You should be quite easy to find from there. We can't have you play. We can't have you not involved when we've not got a left back in the team. Rhys Davies, there he is. Right, he can come into the team at left back. This is an absolute mess. And then we're going to get Cullinan back in the side. Bissett, I'm afraid, is going to have to drop out of the squad so Akagbu can be there on the bench. That looks more like a team. It's time to go and take our medicine, boys and girls. So it's Marshall in goal, a back 4 of Davies, Cullinan, Colvin and Rhodes, Smith and Livermore in midfield, Waltman, Thomas and McAneff behind, Andrucci up front. It's a very familiar side. The only new signing is Rhys Davies. Luca Navarro, the other player we brought in before the transfer embargo, is going to be on the bench because he's a grumpy goose who doesn't train properly. So we might be having problems with him. This is a team. I mean, to be fair, without being too negative about things, this is the team that has just absolutely dominated the National League North. So you would think this 11 players, there's probably a number of National League teams that this 11 is better than. And they're going to know each other. They know how each other plays. And we've scored a goal after less than a minute. The issue we're going to have is when players start to pick up injuries because we don't have any kind of backups. That's why we need to get new signings in pronto. Imagine if all of this turns out brilliantly, and because we've not messed up the squad at all over the summer, we end up with back-to-back promotions in these circumstances. Can you imagine? This is what happens, a goal after 2 minutes. I'm talking about winning the league. I'm going to go down in history as the greatest manager who's ever lived. Oh, my word, Marshall's just flapping his arms a little bit there. Now, we didn't actually look to see where Ebbsfleet finished last year, but as it stands right now, Leamington are top of the National League. Coventry's finest, I think, is what we're known as now. Surely, if we can get into the Football League, they'll let us go home to Leamington, because this is just silly. We've got a supporters trust owning the club now, and the first game with the supporters trust running the club, we're having to play in a different city. which is, it's not a good start, is it? I assume maybe we were only renting the previous ground. If we still own the new windmill ground or whatever it was called, and we're just not able to play there, that's very silly. We should be getting that sold and getting something new built. I've been there a few years ago. We did a Football Manager charity game there. I know that there's room around that ground to expand. You could stick another stand on it. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. It's fields all around it. It's not that it's in a residential area and that there's no room to expand, or the locals will get a grumpy on if you build a new stadium. I don't really understand why the game's not letting us expand the ground that we were in, but it isn't, and Coventry it is, not even at the Rico either. We're on a synthetic pitch where Coventry United play, who looking by the colour of the seats, presumably are the Royal Blues to Coventry City's Sky Blues, which is, if both Coventry teams play in different shades of blue, that's absurd. I mean, what kind of ridiculous situation is that? Coventry football teams, one of you play in red, for goodness sake. And there you go. That's the problem we were talking about. Waltman has picked up an injury in that first half. It's the only position, really. We've got a replacement to come on. Adedoyin can come on and play on that left-hand side. But any more injuries, and we're going with an untried Navarro, a Kagbu playing out of position if it's an injury up here, or untested kids in Chipman or Theodros. None of it is particularly what we want to be doing. I hope we've got a week's gap before the next match. I haven't actually looked at the fixture list. I think if we can get another 7 days in, that might be enough to get half a dozen fresh bodies through the door. But then, of course, they've got the problem where they've had no pre-season. They won't know any of the other players. They won't know how to play the tactic. I've never had a summer like it. Oh, my word. Right. We've got some tired legs. Rhodes is tired. We don't have anyone who can play right back. You're just going to have to stay on, Harvey. You'll be fine. The attack, we talked about this at the start of the transfer special yesterday. Our problem is our front three often don't perform, and here's a perfect example of it. None of them really performing, including Thomas this time. So we've got to make some changes to it. We will take off Thomas, and Luca Navarro can come on and make his debut. And then I guess it's a case of, do we bring Theodros on in midfield, or do we give Ant Chipman a debut? Playing up front, he's a target man. Not really. He doesn't really fit into the way we want to be playing. I think we leave things as they are for now. We'll give Navarro 10 minutes, and then we decide what we have to do for our final change. But that front four, without any competition, are never going to play consistently well. A bunch of monsters. Right, final change. I guess we give Chipman his debut. Makanev's going to come off. In fact, we're not going to give Chipman his debut because we need to put Navarro out onto the right. So it's actually going to be Theodros who comes on to play his first game in a few years. We thought he was done. He didn't play for us at all last year. He was quite the regular early on. Didn't play for us at all last year because he was down in the under-23s. He'd actually gone to talk to other clubs in the summer when he was only with us on a non-contract. And it was at the 11th hour that we offered him £40 a week and a 1-year contract to stay with us. And now he finds himself back in the first team at a higher level. He's going to go on and be a hero for us. It's the kind of origin story that heroes are built with. Waltman, luckily only out for a day. And ultimately, let's look at the positives. We've won our first game in the championship. Really, it couldn't have gone much better in the circumstances. I just want to have a look to see where Ebbsfleet finished last year. Ebbsfleet were 18th. So they're one of the worst teams from last year's National League, and we've scraped past them 1-0. But it's points on the board, and points on the board are never going to be unwelcome. Now the question is, can we get any players through the door in the 4 days before we have to play Weymouth? And the answer to the question was, we got one player in before Weymouth, and he's a backup goalkeeper. Harvey Cartwright, 3-star current ability, 4-star potential, almost as good as Marshall, was at Hull previously. And he can come in and sit on our bench. We'll actually play with a substitute goalkeeper today because we might as well. We've got our entire 16-man first-team squad all involved in the matchday squad. There are still a number of players that we're trying to get in. The only problem is, despite how late in the day we are with trying to get these signings, they're all wanted by other clubs as well. So we don't have any idea how many of them we might get in, which is rubbish. On closer inspection as well, I am actually going to play Cullinan at left back. He's a left footer who's competent playing at left back, and he's actually a better left back than Rhys Davies on star rating at the moment. So in the interests of Davies isn't really ready, and Akagbu is too good to be on the bench in these circumstances, Akagbu comes into the team with Cullinan going out to left back as a short-term measure. Other than that, it is the same team that you've just seen play in the last game. Weymouth, let's check how they got on last year to see if we're going to have more of a problem today than we had in the last match. So Weymouth last season were 20th. It's another team that in an ideal circumstance, we would be coming up and getting early points against in this league. It's just whether or not we're going to be able to do it with this absolute skeleton squad that we've got. If we'd have been able to have a summer of transfers, I think we'd be putting points on the board today. If we come here and lose because we haven't been able to strengthen, that then does start to cause potential problems because we can't then play them again when we've got our squad in and get those points back. They're a team that we want points against if we're going to avoid relegation. But they've also got Martel Taylor-Crossdale in their team, a Channel legend. So we need to keep an eye on him and hope that he doesn't punish us. He's been so good to us over the years. It would be a shame if he decided to start punishing us now. Oh, that's a decent effort from the edge of the area from Livermore, who we know he can hit them from there. He did weigh in with some important goals at various points last season. He's certainly got a good long-range shot on him. We've actually had to promise him that we're going to be bringing in lots of high-quality players this summer because he was wanted by, I forget who it was in League Two. Someone came in for him with an actual cash offer while we were still under the transfer embargo, and we had to persuade him to stay on the basis that we were going to bring in more high-caliber players so that he could get to play in League Two. Because he basically said, at this stage of my career, I want to be playing in League Two. I'm not going to do that with this level of player around me. And he's right. So he's now going to be, by the end of this transfer window, judging my transfers and deciding based on how well I've done whether or not he wants to go on the transfer list or not. So it's going to be interesting when we get the Livermore, whether or not we get the Livermore seal of approval at the end of all this. An hour gone now, nearly. Waltman's picked up the ball in midfield, shoots from range. It's a decent effort, actually. And the Weymouth keeper tips it around the post for a corner. And this is likely to be one of our better routes to goal in a game like this with a set piece. Thomas with the in-swinger. Akagbu was lurking for it, but there is Taylor-Crossdale to get it clear for Weymouth. If you look at those match stats, we have been comfortably the better team. But as we've been talking about for a couple of episodes now, you can see where the problem is in this side. We're very strong at the back. We keep possession well. We create chances. We just don't have attacking players. We don't have the finishers to get goals in situations like this where we should be winning football matches. And it's going to cost us. We need attacking players in. We're going to take off Andrucci and put Adedoyin up front. We're going to take off Donnell Thomas, who's been poor again. Navarro can come on for him. And then we're going to get Theodros on as well. Waltman can come off. Navarro, I think, is right-footed. Yeah, so Navarro can go out onto the left and play as that inside forward. Then Theodros and McAneff in there with Adedoyin up front. It's a completely different combination of players up front as we try and turn our dominance of the match into a goal and another set of 3 points. McAneff playing it out to Rhodes, who's got room to get into the area and cut the ball back to McAneff. I don't know if he's hit the post or the goalkeeper's got that. Either way, Weymouth have scrambled it away for a corner, and we've got another opportunity. Smith to hit the corner, looking for that near post again, and Akagbu's there, and it's punched clear, but only as far as Cullinan, who, of course, playing at left back, finds himself lurking outside of the area. Smith, though, with a free kick, finds another Weymouth player, and it's Livermore to play it to McAneff. We're piling on so much pressure here. We've got to grab a goal. Cross comes in. It's cleared again. McAneff from range, and Jordan McAneff has got the breakthrough finally. It's a fantastic effort from him. We've talked about it a lot. That's the kind of thing we need to see from him more often. He's got it in him. He's just so inconsistent, like everyone else who plays in our front three. But on this occasion, he's managed to hit it beautifully, sweetly into that top corner from just outside the area. It's 1-0 to Leamington. And in the most absurd of circumstances, we might just have found ourselves with a 100% start to the new season. And the players haven't arrived yet. This is, I mean, pinch of salt and all that. We've played against two of the worst teams in the division, but we've picked up 6 points that I was absolutely convinced we wouldn't be getting. That's a massive positive. These boys who got us up last year are doing their very best to get us off to the best start we possibly can in the new season, they're not going to be enough to keep us competitive against the better teams when we start to play them. But they've done the job today. What a bunch of heroes. Now I need to go and sign some players. We'll come back tomorrow by the end of August. You can see we're playing loads of matches in August. So I think we'll probably come back for Dagenham and King's Lynn. By then we should have completed our signings, and we might even get the Livermore review in tomorrow's episode as well and get more of an idea of what we're actually going to be up to this year. I'm already looking at that thinking maybe we shouldn't just be thinking in terms of survival. A playoff push maybe with 14 players. Easy. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. Thank you very much for watching.